Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Our discussion tonight and thanks very much for making time for us to talk about a very interesting topic on building speed with age group swimmers. Lots of no's and lots of yeses, lots of controversial thoughts behind the different people's mythology. But I've listened to a lot of coaches and I've had multiple success with age groupers being able to build speed into what the federation requires us to use for long-term athlete development. So my first slide that you need to ask yourself clearly give me 2 seconds. I'm trying to get this to fold over. Just hold on. So trying to get sorry about that technical issue, but yeah, we move on to the slide. There we go. Right, the measurables that we need to put ourselves into and our thoughts into is what are the measurables and what do we want to achieve out of the exercise that we're setting aside to building speed. And the critical aspect that we need to remember is that the measurables are coaching points that we need to keep in mind continuously as we coach, and we don't lose focus on what we want to achieve out of the exercise. Know your measurables, your coaching points, the athlete's ability, and this is where a lot of us, and especially young coaches, lose that focus on the athlete's ability. Keeping your coaching points with federation requirements. We are restricted in South Africa, or we're governed in South Africa by our age groupers progressively building an aerobic base with speed. So the federation has put a stipulation of 200 freestyle, 200 Ironman, building their aerobic base on all 4 strokes with the athlete requirement within South African coaching parameters that we work within today. A coaching point, building speed progressively within the framework that we're coaching is a measurable, and a coaching point is to keep your measurable in mind as you deliver the set on a daily basis. Load versus overload, it's a fine line, a very fine line. There is a very fine line between load and overload. Same thing, how much speed is good and how much speed is too much. Most coaches are not aware of the small changes that are happening in their athletes and drive the speed load too much that it becomes overload. Take note of that and be aware of how much is enough. 425s are enough. 415s are enough. 412.5s are enough. 4 dives and floats are enough. Don't push the parabola as an extra one. Don't try and be a superhero. I want to try and push an extra one or extra. That what you've built over 4 or 6 or 8 now becomes an absolute disaster because you've overloaded it, and that is not beneficial to building speed. Never say never when you have such talented athletes that you coach and you overload them trying to reach faster and greater results. Guys, that statement is an important statement to keep in mind while coaching. Never say never that you want to push greater and faster. Stick to the limits and stick to what you've set out to achieving it correctly and perfectly. Don't think that at any given time I've not done just that. The key is recognizing that you've pushed too hard and letting the athlete recover within the limit. Again, age appropriate, ability appropriate, and technique appropriate. Fine line between loading and overloading. So that picture explains it all. I'm loading the wash machine. And that one is overloading the wash machine. So keep in mind that they look the same, but the one's overloaded and the one just enough is enough for loading. Building speed training load with age groupers. When building speed, ask the following questions. Critical questions that you need to ask yourself. Do you need to keep your foot on the progress, or do we just keep a hand on it? Ask yourself that question. Do you need to really keep your foot down and force that and jump up and down, or just you need to keep a gentle hand on it and encourage and motivate? While building speed, don't forget coaching points. The speed is a measurable, not a target. It's a measurable. So if we're going to go 0 to 15, we're going to go 0 to 20, or if we're going to go 0 to 25, it's a measurable. It's not a forced target. Who are we? We must do delivery. So we've got to deliver, and when we deliver, the athletes deliver. Coaching point. Make sure speed sets are delivered correctly. Mr. Delivery. Coaching point. Don't ever think that the athletes don't notice that you're not on your game and you're not delivering correctly. They quickly can make a set that's supposed to be fun, easy, fast, an absolute disaster. So make sure you're on your game, make sure you're delivering, and make sure that the speed that you require to get out of the set is achieved correctly. Adopt the Rose approach. An interesting approach and very interesting approach to have to success. As the coach of a developing athlete, the Rose approach, the rose, the bud, and the thorn. Where and which comes first? The questions you're going to ask yourself in adopting the Rose approach. The Rose, what outcome you want to achieve? What's your goal? What is the coaching point goal? Don't forget the goal. The bud, coaching point. What phase of athlete are we working with? A lot of us are critical to the athlete, and we're never critical to ourselves. So keep in mind that Blatt never goes away, and Blatt always stays progressive within coaching and teaching. The thorn, how are you going to achieve the required result? The how. Coaching point, how? What outcome are we wanting to achieve in the rows? Learning to train, to build speed, athletes going from 50s to 100s. Training to train, building aerobic endurance with speed, allowing the athletes to have competitive speed up to 200 meters, because that's what we want, or we expected to deliver in the Swimming South Africa guidelines. Getting the athlete to complete the 200 individual medley is loading the athlete to have speed on all four strokes, all strokes, and being supportive to developing all four strokes. Training to train, building the athlete to improve on the high speed to achieve on improving the 100 freestyle time, or the 100 time that is swimming. As speed endurance with aerobic pace improves, the athlete's 200 freestyle and 200 individual medley times will improve. So critical again, learning to train, training to train, athletes in consistent speed doing aerobic endurance training will help with load. So we've got to remember we're dealing with speed, we're dealing with aerobic, and we're dealing with load. So to get speed done right, we have to make sure that our load capacity and our loading to the speed is done correctly and not forced. In the bud phase of an athlete are you working with, learning to train, again, you've got two phases, learning to train, training to train. And your focus is on TNT. TNT takes no talent. It's how we, as coaches, present to building that speed. Keep the speed load progressive. Simple. Good streamline, good leg work, good feet speed, progressive building the stroke. As your feet speed increases, your arm cadence and your speed will then increase as well. Don't overcomplicate the process of progress when coaching speed. Make it simple. Speed must be easy and fun. Okay. When we're putting speed together, we're putting speed always at the end of something, or we're putting it in a phase where we're building on a what's good. We need to be working speed on a daily basis. And when we're doing our speed sets, it needs to be remembered and keep in mind that what we're focusing on, the progression that we're focusing on. Make sure that transition from the wall to the speed breakout to the 15 meter to the 20 meter is done correctly. We lose that focus on trying to push mileage, trying to push a whole lot of other entities, and not pushing that the progression of speed comes through making sure that it is done consistently and correctly every single time. In the bud phase of athletes you're working with, learn to train again and training to train. The load sets of athletes that train 3 times a week. We want 6 or 8 50s of good stroke, but fast feet. Necessarily, speed doesn't need to be, you have to be off the block. It has to be 25 and it has to be fast. That's not speed. Speed is how we're breaking it down. And if we're doing 6 or 8 50s, we want good stroke, but we want fast feet. Or we want good stroke, we want fast leg recovery on the breaststroke and fast squeeze. Every week, see if you can get to going 425 speed kick out of your athlete. Coaching point, focus on fast feet and building speed. Coaching point, start slow, finish fast. We do not want to see fatigue setting in where we lose the speed. We want to make sure that the emphasis of building speed is built on making that you're finishing fast. If there's any questions or anything you want to put out, if you think I'm going too fast, let me know. But excuse me, I just would like to, people need to put in comments if you want me to slow down or if you've got something you want to ask a question, or we'll come back to it later. In the training to train sector of the athletes, the load set of the athletes training 4 times a week. So yeah, we go from 6 or 8:20 fast or swimming fast with fast feet, but now we're going 8 to 12:25s in various kicking forms, but making sure it's good legs and feet speed is critical. Leg speed, making sure backstrokers are breaking water tension with their feet, butterflies, got good hip action, and it's fast. We don't want to just amberly kick along 200 butterfly. If you are doing that, then there's nothing wrong with it. But when you want to put the speed factor to it, make sure it's fast. Even if we're going push off to 15 and then recovery easy, make sure that that phase is fast. The 4 to 8:25 speed that we set target times. Right. We've got a target time for 25 fast freestyle kick or 25 butterfly kick, and making sure that those times are target times and, and they're achievable. Don't neglect the breaststrokers. A lot of us think, no, we can't do fast stuff with breaststrokers. Yes, we can. We can do fast stuff with breaststrokers because the speed of the breaststroke kick is coming from the leg speed from being straight to how fast the recovery up against the glutes are. And if it's done correctly, that's from straight leg up to the glutes, up onto the bum, turning the feet out quickly. That phase needs to be fast, and you've got to teach that and make sure that your coaching points are correct, that you're building that speed for those breaststrokers. To make sure that those athletes finish up with fast legs and creating speed. The thorn phase, the last phase, the most important phase of putting it together. How are you coaches going to achieve the required result? Critical that we don't forget what phase we're in, number one, and what ability we're working with. Developing speed load progressively. Follow one course until success. Don't deviate. Don't lend your ears out to other people. If you've got an idea, stick to the idea and see the progression through progressively, and make sure you're consistent with building that speed load. 8 to 12:25s, 50 to 1 minute, periodic changing, different strokes and combinations. Back, press, back, press, free kicking. Keep that combination going. If you're going to do fly, make sure your fly sets are fast, but keep it limited. Don't give 12 fly 25 kicks or 450s fly kick, and they progressively get slower. Defeats the object of building the speed and the load progressively. Coaching points, again, some of these actually will need to start by doing two kicks and then setting one out, because their speed endurance is not good enough and the aerobic base that doesn't hold their speed together correctly. So, and the same things, increasing ankle flexibility, leg speed, feet speed, increases cadence and arm rotation. So it's critical that we drive our feet speed to make sure that we can pick up the cadence and when we want to swim fast. You can never swim fast if you can't pick up your leg speed. And your leg speed is all created out of your ankle flexibility and how fast you are. So if you are using fins, make sure that the fin kicking is done fast and in the correct propulsion going forward. Go for we often go 4 to 8, or we build up to 850s, but we often go 450s, 2 sets off with fins. Good streamlined position, head down. If you've got a snorkel on, make sure your snorkel's on and your alignment is good, and you can go fast. All the critics are about going fast. When you do 425 speed, necessarily doesn't need to be with a dive. It doesn't need to be 25 meters, and it can be a sprint kick in good alignment with good push off, with good undulations, with good enough recovery between each set, and emphasizing on the speed of the legs and making sure that the speed sets are built correctly within the age appropriate and the ability appropriate to the athletes that we're working. Every now and then we'll go 2 or 3 sets of freestyle, building speed, and again, we will go slow 25, fast 25, or we'll go 75 drills, 25 fast, or 25 fast, 75 drills. And again, varying that speed, but making sure that when it's done fast, it's done fast correctly. Or we go easy to 20 meters in and off the wall fast. Okay. So there's different variations of speed that you can build and different variations of speed that you can adaptations that you can build within the set to create speed. The speed's not necessarily, again, off the block 25 for time. That's not speed. Speed must be created and developed in different formats through the process of developing speed. Ultimately, loading the athlete to the point that the progression is progressive. Here are some of the sets that you can use as speed set training sets in the learning to train phase, the training to train phase, and the training to compete phase. I could share more of these sets with you, but that's just some of the progression sets that we have used previously and for athletes to see target times down on the bottom here on the training to compete phase, the target times for male and females to hold. It's important to keep in mind that the outcome that you want to achieve, the technical development is long-term. Keep the focus on long-term outcomes, and the short-term goals will be so much more rewarding. So building speed, and I'm open for questions and answers and thoughts of building, creating speed in age groupers. If Cheryl's got any questions.
Thanks, Hilton. No, I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, but it would be nice to open up to hear other people's way they're achieving it and maybe challenges they're having and how you can maybe shed some light. So,
Yeah,
Adrian, do we want to start at the top and have you got a question or even just a comment, or let us know how you're doing with your age groupers? Okay. Cindy, maybe you want to shed some light what's happening in Zimbabwe? Okay. Right. No, nobody's wanting to participate.
Are they still sleeping here? Or are they still coaching?
Is anyone with us?
Yes. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, Cindy, got you.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to find my unmute button. In Zim, I'm still a little bit new to like all the club swimming, but yeah, we do try to follow like all your South African level 2 times level 3 and Sanja and all of that. I have my kids I have like mainly 8 to 12-year olds. My oldest swimmer is 13. Different capabilities in the pool at one time, but for me, that's why I came to I took this webinar to learn a bit more, because for me I've always just felt like it's really just the technique, and especially with my little ones, I see it's easier to do speed sets once I've developed their strokes to a certain point where I know their technique is going to be consistent. If I'm doing 525s or 825s, or I'm doing 450s, and if I'm timing them or anything like that, it's just that once they know how to breathe correctly, once they stroke, whether it's breaststroke free or back, once their stroke has developed to a certain point and their technique is good, I get a lot more PBs at galas. But I've really been focusing more on stroke, and then I have a speed set afterwards. But
Good.
yeah, that's basically what I've been doing.
Good. Good foundation. Very good foundation.
Thank you.
Where are you based in Zimbabwe, Cindy?
I'm in Harare.
Okay, lovely. Okay. You had a school pool or a public pool?
It's a school pool that we're contracting from.
Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
No problem. You're from Jason. Jason van der Vat. What's Jason on Jason's mind this evening? Jason?
How's it, Hilton?
Lekker,
No,
man.
I'm just I was just listening to it, and I think one of my biggest challenges is just purely trying to understand how to build speed from young swimmers. I think that's definitely one of my challenges. At the moment, I've mostly got more your LTS swimmers that are developing into like, well, I'm trying to get them through the stroke development phases and everything, and I think I've got two boys currently, brothers, and I've been trying to work a little bit on speed with them. Look, they're not wanting to go into competitive swimming, but they're kind of like my, if I could use it, my experimental group where I try these things with them, and what you mentioned something with the focus element is just stick with it, and I quite like that because for me I feel like a lot of the time us as younger coaches, I don't know, I feel like we chop and change between things. I mean, look, I'm 28 at the moment, so I'm very much still in a
Learning phase.
developmental cycle of
Yeah.
my coaching phase.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to learn, I'm trying to understand, and I think that's the biggest thing is, as you said, stick with it. And for me, I don't know, I feel like that's very valuable to hear from someone.
Jason, the most important thing you need to remember, you need to get a network of people that you can talk to. Okay, and that goes to everybody in this forum. Pick up the phone and connect with somebody that will take your phone call. I mean, there's lots of coaches that phone me on a regular basis. I network around the world with coaches around the world that I connect with and I've met and that type of stuff, and I pick up a lot of things. I mean, I was coaching on Tuesday morning while I was coaching my masters from 7 to 9 a.m. I had a call from China. Great conversation about swimming, right? So find your connection of who you can connect with or who's willing to talk to you and ask questions. Even if you connect with somebody and send them a WhatsApp. I mean, as I said, I have lots of coaches that ask me questions and send me stuff. Please have a look at my periodization. Don't think I don't do the same thing. I mean, I talk to Rocco sometimes twice, sometimes 3 times a day, sometimes 20 times a week. Sometimes I don't speak to him for 2 weeks. But we share stuff. We share what we're doing. We share what our speed sets are, that type of stuff. And it helps you to understand, are you doing the right thing? It clears your mind. It just gives you a different perception to stuff. So feel free to connect with coaches, even if they're not in your province. And when I was a young coach, I used to phone a coach every single Sunday night at 8 p.m. and sit and talk to her on the phone for an hour. Go through what I'm doing. This is my planning for the next week, where I am. And that's how I learned. I mean, that was back in the 90s. We didn't have cell phones and internet was still too new for us and that type of stuff. I actually specifically phoned somebody and sat and spoke to them about it. And when you go to a meet, try and sit next to a coach that you're going to learn something from. And listen to how he speaks to his kids. Listen to what he says to them. And sometimes you'll be horrified to hear what coaches say to Kathy. And you think, no, I don't want to speak to my athletes like that. I want to, this is the one I want to say. And make sure that you learn at every given opportunity that you can learn. Adrian, your hands up. You can go next, mate.
Wait. Okay. Hi, guys. I'm doing with the youngsters from about 11, 12. I find it a bit difficult sometimes to get them going fast. If I do 450s, I say we're going to do 450s and we're going to go fast. Now I want you guys to try and do your last one the fastest. But what happens is that the first 50, they go like crazy and they time them and they get a very good time. The second one is a little bit slower. And then I stop them and I say to them, listen, you're not getting your time. Your first one was, say, a 36. Now the next one is a 38. I said, try and keep your time constant. And this is what I find a bit difficult. Some of them don't seem to realize they must push it all the time, that they can get their time that they did the first one. And sometimes the last one is terrible. So can you give me some advice there?
Okay, Adrian, that's twofold. Remember, you cannot build speed if you don't have aerobic pace. Okay? So working on aerobic pace is low heart rate, breathing pattern, stroke count. 11, 12-year-olds, you wouldn't use stroke count, but you just get them to get a breathing pattern correct and teach them a good breathing pattern. And you'll find why their times are dropping is because they're not exhaling correctly and their breathing patterns incorrectly, and they're going out of breath. They're not exhaling through their nose, and that's why they're all over the pool. And their times then increase, don't decrease. So you can play a little game with them, all right, where whoever gets 3 in a row, noughts and crosses, they've got to get 3 consistent times. And then when you're building speed, build the speed in a shorter phase. Try 15 meters, try 20 meters, then try 25 meters. You trying to do the distance and making them go 50 meters where they're not even keeping their stroke together and they're failing because it's 50 meters, it's too far. So start with the distance being shorter and making sure that it's fast. But make sure that you instill the correct breathing pattern, because if your breathing pattern is correct, they will not fatigue.
Thanks very much. That's good. Thank you.
Okay. Again, stay connected with coaches, ask questions, and don't think that you're in the dark.
Hilton, there's a question from Elsabe in the chat.
What did she say?
She says she finds most of her swimmers want to go fast, and the challenge is to slow down to get the swimmers to do technique. What advice would you give her to get swimmers to understand that slow and good technique will make you faster?
Okay. So you when I do drills and stuff, everything is going to be in a drill sequence, which will be, if we're doing freestyle, we go left arm and it's pull, push, roll, breathe, and everything was a 6 kicks, 1 arm. 6 kicks, 1 arm. So it's slow arms, fast feet, right? And the same thing when you put it together, you want really slow arms. So we're only going to do 8 arm strokes, but we must kick like the clappers. So I want fast feet and only 8 strokes. That's 4 left arm and 4 right arm, 425. Slow it down, increase the leg speed. Right. Then always on the last one, you say, right, this is the special one. This is when you're allowed to go fast feet and fast arms. So that's, again, progressively building speed, but making sure that the speed is coming out the legs, not out the arms. And you want no breathing, fast feet in the last 5 meters. Again, you want three coaching points or 3 teaching points, and remember, you want to focus on those 3 points. So every time you do the drill or do the sequence, make sure you say the same thing on repetitiveness. Make sure you focus on the same thing. Make sure that the fast feet to the wall, no breathing in the last 5 meters. Was that handy?
Thanks, Elsafi. Does that answer your question? And then she is also looking for good drills for specific focus on the different strokes, not just cool to do drills. Any advice?
All drills must be progressive. When we're doing drills, and I'm going to use freestyle for example, we're doing a freestyle drill. I start off my drill with a snap drill, which is arms next to the side, and you're kicking on your side, on your left-hand side. You'll breathe to the left-hand side, and then you'll snap right around to the right-hand side, looking down at the bottom of the pool and kicking sideways. Snap drill. The drill importance of the drill is rotation, propulsion, body alignment, buoyancy, breathing. Okay. So if you can get the first drill done correctly and in that rotation is done correctly, then you can add the left arm. Again, starting in the snap drill side, on your side, push off on your side, arms next to the side, breathe, recover your arms slowly, put your arm in, pull, push, roll, snap to the other side. So again, the progression of the drill and the rotation, that the body alignment is straight. And then when you're putting in the propulsion of the arm, again, the hand goes palm down, fingers down, pointing to the floor, pushing past the thigh. 3 teaching points. Right. So we have that progression through the first 2 phases of the freestyle drill. Snap drill, left arm, and second one's right arm. Now we're going to put the next phase together. Now we're going to go 2 left arm, 2 right arm, 2 left arm, 2 right arm. Again, fast feet, slow arms. You're only allowed to do that 3 times over 25 meters. So it's got to be really slow, because if he does 6 arm strokes fast, he's going to get about 12.5, 15 meters, and then he's got to kick the rest of the way, and you don't want that. So what I like to do with the boys that are etchy about that, I'm going to say, right, the boy that's the most active, I always say to him, you are my demonstrator for today. So the rest of them are all going to watch him, and he's going to be demonstrating, and if he gets it wrong, they're allowed to shout at him. So it becomes an interactive, because now he's got to be on best behavior, and he's actually got to put himself towards himself, and he's actually got to show all the others how good he is, or not how bad he is, or how mischievous he is. So when you progress those drills in the same sequence, you take those drills right up to the age groupers, and I do it with my senior national guys. We've got a drill sequence which goes snap drill, left arm, right arm, 2 left, 2 right, 2 full, 3 left, 3 right, 3 full. That's 3 full strokes. Then we've got a rotational drill. So that's 8 to 12 25s, and they'll do them, 3 consecutive snap drills, 3 25s left arm, 3 25s right arm, 3 25s going, and it's all done slowly, as slow as possible, as perfect as possible. As slow as possible, as perfect. Emphasis on leg speed, ankle flexibility, and keep the hip rotation going, that the hip is rotating and the shoulders following the hips. So that's just the kind of drills I do, and how I teach my little ones to do drills, and how it progresses up into the age groups, that they all do the same drills and they all have the same follow through on the progression of their drills. Does that answer your question, Lindy?
Yes, she's saying thank you in the chat.
No problem.
Another question from Lindy, who's busy doing her ASCA level 1 and 2 with us. What is a good time for a 25-meter free kick for a competitive swimmer? Would age be relevant in that question?
8 seconds, 8 years, 8 days.
Lindy, do you want to unmute yourself and
Unmute
chat a
yourself.
bit more about that?
Hi, thank you. I just want to know, you say we do a lot of kicks, so you need a strong kick, which I absolutely agree with. But I was
Yeah.
wondering, what will be a good 25-meter kick for a competitive swimmer, let's say female at about level 3 or Sanjay's qualifying times?
It's probably about 16 or 17 seconds. Freestyle kick or backstroke kick, which kick?
Hilton, sorry, start that
Yeah.
again, please. It wasn't clear.
Was that freestyle kick or back? What kind of freestyle kick?
Freestyle
Freestyle.
kick, yes.
What is 100? What's a 50 time or 100 time?
Well, working towards 30 seconds or less for a 50-meter
Yeah.
free. So
It's
she's
almost probably kick
keeping it
17,
at
16, 17 seconds for 25 freestyle kick.
okay, 17
What is
seconds.
what is she kicking at the moment?
About 25.
Sure.
Yeah, 25 seconds for a
You
25
must
meter.
recharge her Uber account. She might need an Uber lift to the other side.
Yeah. Okay, so how do we get that faster?
Ankle
Just
flexibility.
train.
Make sure that her ankle flexibility. She's not kicking with her feet. She's kicking with her legs. So get her to emphasize, suck your navel to your spine, engage your glutes, and make sure you're kicking with your feet. She was probably kicking with
Okay.
her midriff deeper in the water, so her glutes are not engaged. She's not kicking out from her glutes down her leg into her feet, and that's why she is struggling to get the progressive kick time down.
Okay.
Marketson.
We'll work on that. Yeah.
Okay. And make sure when you explain to her, she sucks her navel to her spine. She holds her core stability. She's then engaged her glutes, and then she must be able to kick from that fate. You want to see her glutes out of the water.
Thanks, Hilton. Shivani is also doing ASCA level 1 and 2 with Swim Coach. Maybe, Shivani, have you got a question or two? Doesn't have to be totally relating to building speed, but just in general.
Say that again.
No, no question from her. All right. Anybody else with a question for Hilton?
Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
So I have one swimmer. She just turned 12. We've been working together since last year. So over the past 2 seasons, season and a half, we've managed to bring her free time down from, it was a 39, so she's now sitting on a 34. But that's a 50 free. But she seems to just be like on that 34 since March. We haven't gotten past the 34. Is there like a way that I can, is there some sort of drill or something that I can, or how would I use my hour and 30 minutes that I have with her each day to try and increase her speed?
Her 0 to 15 is too slow. Okay, remember your diving speed should be at about 12 kilometers an hour. So if you time her from 0 to 15,
Mm-hmm.
you need to get that time down to as close as to 6 seconds, 7 seconds. Okay, so you need to find out how fast is she going from off the block to 15 meters, how many strokes she's taking to 15 meters, because theoretically you only want 2 strokes or 1 stroke or one arm stroke, and then you must go through 15. You know, is she hitting the water and coming up and spinning like a windmill from the free state, then then she's not efficient enough in the water. Then you've got to look at, how do I make her efficient? she's using too many strokes. She's not pushing through on the back end of the stroke. She's only catching instead of pushing. And remember, the catch part of the stroke is only 20% of the stroke underneath the water. The other 80% is the push phase. So she's not probably pulling and not pushing through the stroke. So if you get her to push through the stroke, she'll be much quicker.
Okay. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, please feel free.
Hilton, here's my problem. I spoke to you about it before, but now what's happening is we have a bunch of swimmers that needs to qualify for youth jumps and then also for junior nationals. But the problem is we do not train during winter time. And now starting the new season, our times are, well, actually way lower than what we ended with the previous season. And we need to make up that ground plus then get a faster time to keep up with the other kids who's training all year round.
Yes.
Any advice on how to do that? Because it becomes quite a frustration because we are mid-season already and they struggle to get the times that they swam, their personal best times last season, not even talking about trying to qualify for youth jumps.
Okay, so your question that you need to ask yourself is, have you got provincial champs shortly?
Yeah, we have our champs. Mpumalanga champs is this weekend.
Okay. And then what are you doing after that?
Train for as long as possible till everybody goes on holiday. Those
When
who
is that?
stay behind. Around about the 15th, 16th of December, and then we
Yeah.
start again early January. So what we do now is we are kind of doubling things. So we have 2 hours training in the morning and 1 hour training in the afternoons. So
Yeah.
we really try to make up for lost time, but you know, they get tired in any case, and you can only do that much before shoulder starts hurting, etc.
You must also remember this time of the year, your neurological fatigue is far greater than your physical fatigue because of exam. So your kids are come off on neurological overload with academic demand. So I try and cut swimming down to once a day. We're down to swimming an hour at the moment. We also got champs this coming week, so I've tapered my guys a bit, but I'm more worried about the neurological fatigue going into championships and coming off an academic demand. So I'm very cognizant of the well-being of the athlete and the neurological fatigue and you know that they have at school. So we normally give the kids or the athletes enough time to recover from that, and they'll want to sleep. They want to sleep a lot first, and you can see. I was speaking to my age groupers now this week, and you can see they're sleeping less, and they're more active, and they want to do things now. So you can see that neurological fatigue has recovered well. What you really want to do is you want to add a load week, or I still use the phrase of a hell week, and you try and do that within 3 days or 4 days after your last champs day. So I've got a load week that starts on the 13th of December and runs until the 20th of December. And where we go double sessions, heavy load, aerobic base work, and we lead it up to that. And then we'll just do singles from the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and then the 28th, 29th, 30th, or 29th, 30th, and 31st will be singles. And then we're back into training, which will be a double session from the 5th of January right until we go back to school on the 15th. So I have 2 load plots that I put onto the athletes, but I do an easy recovery week between Christmas and New Year. They're still swimming, but they're not swimming heavy loaded. And that should give them enough aerobic base work for you to start adding on speed work, which would then come on around about the 20th, 21st, 22nd of January, which will give you 8 weeks of speed work leading up to youth nationals, which will be from the 18th to the 21st of March. So you need to get 2 blocks of 10 days or 8 days where you can load those guys around about a 90,000 kilometer week or 90,000 meters, 100 kilometers for that period of time. And that's the only way you'll be able to get that you can realign those athletes with aerobic based work sufficient to be competitive by March. Does it make sense? Lindy?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's very helpful. But wow, that's a lot of swimming. My guys do not swim that much. We currently are lucky if we get to 5Ks a day. They are very slow, very tired, worn down easily. So even if we
Yeah, but it's not fast. You don't think that you're going to do it fast. You know what I mean? You know, you start with small targets. You start with small targets. You build small targets, and you use test sets that are proven and helpful to that period of time. You know, I mean, if you need help, I'm sure Cheryl will share my details with you. I can give you some direction to where you can go to, what you can do. But that's kind of where we are with the load. And we specifically as senior coaches get our age group champs or our provincial champs done in the first week. That allows us training blocks that we can get a training block in before Christmas. I normally go right until the 24th of December. But this year I've got a family commitment and I'm only going until the 20th, or else I would have been from the 13th to the 24th, and then I would give them a break. And then be back on the 1st or 2nd of January. You gotta sometimes be a little bit overcommitted from yourself, and whoever follows your lead. And you'll quickly find that the kids will put pressure on the parents to be back at training. You know, if you guys want some more help with periodization and periodization over the season and how to load over a season, I'm sure you can talk to Cheryl as well, and I'm quite happy to give that presentation as well to you guys.
Yeah, I think that will be very helpful. Can I quickly ask a non-related question now as well?
Yeah.
We kind of follow our own programs, but we used to get a couple of programs from I'm not sure if you're familiar with Chad, but I think he follows Rocco's programs, some of it in any case. But what is your point of view on paddle work? Because we used to do more kicking, but in some of the sets there were a lot of paddle work, which seemed to put a lot of strain on my swimmer's shoulders. Is that how it's supposed to be? Should we rather be doing more paddle work in between?
Okay, you want to build shoulder strength, but you've got to load that correctly on the athletes again. Make sure that they're strong outside the water before you add stuff in the water. If a kid can't do a pull-up, then you don't want to really give him a pair of paddles to put on, because he can't even do it on land. Where is he going to be able to pull himself with oversized paddles in the water? So, if you've got a couple of pull-up bars around the pool, my standard warm-up, my kids have got to do 3 sets of 8 pull-ups before they get in the pool every single day, part of the warm-up routine. So when the girls start with it, they have to do 3 sets of 1, and then 3 sets of 3, and then they build up to get into 3 sets of 8. Some of them don't look pretty, believe me, some of them don't look pretty, but they eventually get there. So be very careful. And also, paddles are not because of your hand size. The paddles are bought because of your strength and what your strength size is. And the paddles that are most useful or stroke related are the Tier Catalyst paddle. There's one or two variants of the Catalyst paddle, and that helps with stroke and not pushing outwards. And then the forearm paddle is another very important paddle to use. So one paddle doesn't necessarily help with everything, but making sure the paddle size is to the athlete's strength is a critical aspect. You don't buy paddles to your hand size, and you're making sure you're doing the correct paddle work beforehand. Little finger paddles to start off with, and then moving on into the bigger paddles. Make sense, Lindy?
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, that makes sense. I've actually never heard somebody say paddles goes according to your strength and not your hand size. So I'll definitely keep that in mind.
That's critical. You got to remember that you're buying a paddle to your strength, not to your hand size.
Right, one more question from Cindy.
Yes, sorry. In connection with paddles, I just wanted to find out, like Lindy said, it's interesting to hear you say it's, dependent on your strength size. I didn't know that that's how you purchase paddles. But yeah, in Zim, majority of the coaches are very much against paddles until kids are like 14, 15.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I'll start with finger paddles with 11, 12-year-olds. And then they do a little bit of sculling work with that and mostly freestyle work. We've got a gentleman down here that makes a little finger paddle, and it's exceptionally helpful and great for the catch and the feel. And they work really, really well. And then the next paddle up from that would be a Catalyst, starting with the small and eventually building yourself up. And then the freestylers using the freestyle forearm paddle.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for that.
No problem.
Right, I think we'll wrap it up there, everybody. Thank you for joining us. It was a lovely session. There is a poll that is live that you should be able to answer. Just gives us some feedback as to where we are and what we're doing. So if you wouldn't mind answering that, we'd appreciate it. Hilton, thanks again for your time. We always appreciate what you have to say and love your willingness to share with everybody. So thank you for that. And this will be the last of any Swim Coach event for this year, but we will definitely be back in January. So wishing everybody a lovely downtime, festive season, and rejuvenate for next year. So thank you, Hilton. Thank you, coaches. Have a lovely.
No problem. Thanks very much. Thanks to everybody.